Broncos Country, a mile-high salute to all of you guys, man. I am so excited about today's episode. I'm joined with my good friend, Dak, to talk about the Broncos. This is the offseason blueprint, guys. There's nowhere else that you can go to be able to find the perfect plan for the Denver Broncos in the offseason. We're going to cover free agency. We're going to cover the draft. But before we get into all that, man, Dak, why don't you let everybody know who you are and where they can find you? And be sure to subscribe and follow him on all the socials because he's always putting out amazing Denver Broncos content. So, floor is yours, my man.
I appreciate you. First and foremost, your viewers are spoiled and honestly lucky to have you dropping real knowledge for them. You always give out great insight when it comes to the NFL game. But in terms of me, you can find me at Denver DMark on Twitter. I'm pretty active there. Go subscribe to a few of my podcasts at Buck and Pod, Orange and Blue Network. And then I do Dax Fan Zone and End Zone, another new one that I just started. But trying to put out some good content, some fun. It's a fun time for sure. So yeah, just follow me on those socials for sure.
Yeah, no, be sure to definitely do that, man. Like again, he's probably one of the biggest Bronco fans that I've ever come across. And it's funny, it's the first time we've ever actually done a video together, but because we've interacted so much on social media, I feel like I've known you for a long time, man. So this is the beautiful thing about this community that we're building, right? And they always say you can't make new friends in your 30s. I completely disagree. There's a lot of wonderful people out there to have great friendships with, great conversation, dialogue, and that's what I love most. So, Dak, I'm gonna put all the pressure on you now. All right, we're gonna talk about. We're gonna start with free agency since that's really the first thing that's gonna start in the off season here in about a week and a half or so.
Yeah, March 9th.
Yeah, run me through maybe your ideal free agency in total for the Broncos. You don't have to rank like my favorite, your top 5. Just give me like, what would you love to see the Broncos come out of in the free agency period?
Man, this is tough because I look at everybody that I've targeted, they just take away, right? They like to break my heart. And those are players that I would have liked to see improve this run game. I'm talking about Breece Hall, but now I'm looking to pivot towards maybe a Tyler Algier, somebody who can complement this room. I know Travis Etienne kind of was a name that's been brought up that Denver might be interested in, but I kind of felt like that move would be a little redundant in terms of maybe the skill set, maybe the role that RJ Harvey could play in this Broncos offense, right? Travis Etienne, I feel like, is a proven commodity in the NFL. Whether you're looking at RJ Harvey, he's not quite there yet, right? But he can probably become something like that. So Tyler Algier, though, is a tone setter that we need, short yardage kind of running back. That could wear defenses down in the fourth quarter. I think that's somebody we needed. That's somebody we could have potentially wished to have had in the AFC Championship during that blizzard. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a guy like that, right? We had some smaller backs. I think Algier is like 220 some pounds plus, right? So yeah, he's a physical presence in that game. So maybe you come out with him. Maybe you look at an inline blocking tight end that can be effective in the passing game as well as the run game. I think that can keep this offense dynamic. So maybe K. and Dallas Goedert are some names that I would like to see the Broncos target. An underrated signing too, maybe an upgrade over Troutman could be Daniel Ballinger that you have mentioned. I've talked about. I think a lot of people, he has some athletic ability, right? Some untapped potential, I think, with him particularly. So I would like to be in on him as well. In terms of the linebacker position, man, we only got Dre Greenlaw right now, right? Because Justin Strnad, Singleton are free agents. I'm not really sold on like Drew Sanders coming back and saving this room or some of the other guys on the practice squad, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
So I think you need to invest in the linebacker position, whether that be the draft. Maybe you add 2 guys in the draft, one in the later round, one early on. Or you go to free agency, right? Maybe you get like a Devin Lloyd who you back up the Brinks truck for sure. He's a talent. I think he's had a career year this year. Sideline to sideline guy. He's an impact kind of guy that would elevate our linebacker position and we could have for the foreseeable future. In Denver, that'd be nice. So yeah, those are some guys I like. I like Devin Bush. You want a lower tier kind of linebacker. Still an upgrade over a Singleton. I think that's what we need to come out with from free agency is just upgrades across the board and the positions of need that we have, right?
Mhm.
I've just really kept an open mind with a lot of the players that are available to us, because I get my hopes up. I got, like I said, Brees Hall, I had my hopes up. They shut the operation down.
Yep.
George Pickens or whatever, you and I behind the scenes have kind of talked about that. Shut the operation down. Now, does the Broncos trade for him? I don't know. But you need playmakers to really improve this offense and help Bo Nix. I felt like we had too many guys in this offense where they excel at one particular thing, right? But they weren't dynamic. And I feel like that keyed off a lot. Like defenses were able to key off on that, right?
Yep. No, man, I agree 100% wholeheartedly. I think, we've had some back and forth with some other Bronco fans on Twitter, and I love to do it. And even those that aren't Bronco fans, but so many people are like, this team, they won 14 games in the regular season. They were, a half away from going to the Super Bowl. Like, why do you want to redo the whole roster? And it's like, well, first of all, we don't want to redo the whole roster. But
No.
secondly, I think Sean Payton nailed it yesterday in the presser at the Combine, man. He said, we're not like naive. We have to start over every year. You have to completely look at your roster, and you can't expect to win every single one-score game that you're in. Absolutely. And I agree with him, man. Like he gets it. Like it was great. It showed the kind of grit that this team had, but ultimately those kinds of things can flip. The pendulum flips on half of those games and you end up losing. Now you're talking about a 10-win team. So yeah, we have to get more dynamic. We got to get better at certain positions. And I think we have to start doing Bo Nix more favors. So, you mentioned a lot of good names, tight ends. You talked about Otten and Goddard. You mentioned a couple of wide receiver candidates. Let's talk about the tight end room, I guess, first, because I think that's just the one that probably needs an entire.
That's an eyesore for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Evan Ingram? Is he someone that you would want to bring back?
Man, it's kind of hard to say. I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I feel like the usage wasn't really there, right? I mean, despite him having over 700 yards receiving, it's really difficult to say because it's like the usage wasn't there. But then you can also point to like sometimes you would see Bo Nix kind of miss him underneath, right? Where he was open going through those progressions. Man, if I had to say if you're gonna bring in another veteran, I would decide to move on from Evan Ingram. Maybe you trade him, maybe you do a post June 1st cut kind of thing. Bring a different kind of veteran in, maybe, and then you're able to maybe bring in like Dallas Goedert, Cade Otton, and maybe add someone else to the room like Daniel Bellinger. You get two guys, maybe, for the money you freed up. And then you look towards the draft and you get your long-term replacement. Maybe, man, I'm already thinking that Kenyon Sadiq might not be there. We're not going to probably be that lucky unless we trade up, right? But you look at guys like Max Clare, Oscar Delp, maybe a Justin Jolie, guys that I'm high on. Those are type of tight ends that you can have as a long-term replacement as they develop. You have a veteran presence in the room, right? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. But Davis Webb now being play caller, does he vouch for his guy, right? Because they have that connection, and that's what makes this decision difficult for me. Or maybe he optimizes Evan Ingram to the best of his ability, but he's kind of one-dimensional, in my opinion, in this offense.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those points. I'd say firstly, guys, in the comments, I don't know if the comments on YouTube are working. I've been trying to respond to a few of you, and it says YouTube rejected your comment. This means that they think it's spam, so that's probably what's happening. But we'll keep rolling. Maybe we'll get in some comments on Twitter or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, something seems to be wrong. So we're not ignoring you for not showing anything. In terms of Evan Ingram, man, I think, man, it's so tough for me because I think it's so hard to redo an entire room. And it'd be like functional in one off season, right? It would take a lot. And I think Evan Ingram, I mean, he's cheap. He's not really costing that much against the cap. So I'd probably be fine keeping him. What I'm really curious about, and this is something that I don't think anybody's going to know until we see it, is what kind of impact does Davis Webb have on the offense, if anything, in general, right? But I think specifically with Evan Ingram, like, is that the biggest reason why he, gained the confidence of Sean Payton to take over play calling, because he felt like, man, there's guys that we have to feature. And so there's that. Another thing is, like, whenever he was going out for passes, even though he's got to fix those drops, obviously, like, he was gaining separation. You still saw a lot of that talent. I personally feel like if you can actually bring in tight ends that not only can be asked to block, but can actually block well, you can free up Evan Ingram to be a weapon more often. I just don't think that he had the luxury last year because we really had no options with him. It was like him and Troutman basically the entire year, right? Because you had Atkins injured for most of it. We had to elevate Mercedes Lewis a few times, but it was like, he didn't really have the freedom to just unleash Evan Ingram, I think, the way that we did. So I'd probably be fine keeping him. Again, I mean, it's similar with Dre Greenlaw. Like, why get rid of him? It's not going to really save you that much money. And I don't think it's going to hinder you from bringing in other guys, but I'm all about it, man. You mentioned Cade Otton. You mentioned Dallas Goedert. Is there any specific tight end that you're really high on? Like, or maybe like you feel like, and we can even talk about the draft too, but like, man, this would be, you add these 2 or 3 guys, then you feel really confident in the room.
Man, so I would say this, like, in terms of free agency, I look at Cade Otton, like, at his age. I've talked, I think, to Mario Vitanzi about this too behind the scenes, and like Cade Otton, it just would offer you more flexibility in this room because his age, right? He's younger than a lot of the tight ends on the market that we would probably look to target. And you don't have to really feel like you have to reach at the tight end position in the draft, right? Maybe you feel like, and I know Sean Payton's super confident in his ability to develop talent, right? I mean, you've seen it first. I mean, he took Caleb Lohner in the 7th for a reason, right? Because he had the confidence he could develop a guy like that. So yeah, I would like Cade Otton. I think it's him, and it's like I struggle 1A, 1B type of thing between Dallas Goedert and Cade Otton, honestly. But I feel like we need somebody with that level of talent in this room to really get the most out of this offense.
Yep.
A lot of people look at the box scores, but I feel like a lot of people don't really look at the true impact on the film that these guys have in terms of the running game and the passing game for sure. But those are the 2 names that I would really like.
Yeah, no, I'm good with either one of them, man. I feel like, I don't know why I haven't been super high on Dallas Goedert because he's probably the most productive one from a pass catching standpoint. Blocker, he's up and down, but he's a little bit older. But I feel like, man, I just feel like Sean Payton. I don't know why, but I feel like Sean Payton really like him, like really, really likes someone like a Dallas Goedert. So
yeah,
we'll see. Another name that's been brought up, I know David, with David Talks Broncos, he always talks about it too, is Isaiah Likely. You have any thoughts on Isaiah Likely?
He would definitely be a name that I would like to see because of the red zone threat that he would be for us, right? You've seen the way he's played within the Ravens. They utilize him a lot in the red zone. That's something where we need to improve on. Questions about some of his blocking, I think, particularly in the passing game, but he can be effective in the run game. Maybe we could coach him up for that, right? But he's only 26, 27? I don't quote me on the real age, but he's probably just coming into his own. But the injury concerns with him, right? I think, but last year he was pretty solid. I think he played 14 games, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a guy that I would be intrigued by as well. I know he's going to be a hot name for some of Broncos fans as well to target.
Yeah. No, I think he's someone that fits. I mean, I kind of look at him and Cade Otton as like 1A, 1B. I think.
Who's your 1A? Likely,
man, it's
I know
it's tough too, because to be honest with you, I don't really think that my 1A, like the tight end that I want the Broncos to sign, is like a receiving threat tight end, because I feel like we don't really have the luxury to worry about like having a 700-yard tight end or 800-yard receiving tight end. Because honestly, if they're catching 800 yards in a year, they're top 5 in the NFL. I mean, that's just kind of the state of the tight end room. And so I look at it like you've got to be able to build out a really solid foundation, and then you can worry about letting other guys shine. Like, for example, if we were to sign Cade Otton and then we were to draft Kenyon Sadiq, that would be really intriguing and it would be super fun. Yes. But I wouldn't be super confident being like, yeah, now our tight end room is going to be really good. I just feel like, maybe they would be okay. I don't know how much Kenyon Sadiq would play. But if we have more of the foundation and you have a defined role for these guys, which is something that I think the offense has been lacking really for the last couple of years, is a lack of identity and a lack of guys having a very specific role, then it makes it easy. So I think that my number one free agent tight end target is Charlie Kolar.
Because of his blocking ability in this offense?
Because he's an elite. Yeah, he is an elite blocker. He's basically like having another offensive lineman out there.
Right.
I loved him coming out of college. I like the fact that, like, I think it's his uncle that was Bill Kolar, who was our offensive line coach. But you're talking, this guy's massive. He's 6'6", 265.
Yeah, that's a boy that'll get out and block.
He was a 4th round pick. And dude, like this guy ran a faster 40 than Isaiah Likely by quite a lot, actually.
Oh wow.
He
Yeah.
ran the same 40 time as Audric Estime. I mean, he's a big boy that was moving. So he's got some, I think he's got a lot of receiving upside, but he was never really asked to be a receiver because they had Likely and they had Mark Andrews there as well in Baltimore. So I like the upside there, but I know he's a really good blocker. He's only 27. And he's someone that, man, you bring him in and then it's like, all right, so let's say you bring in Charlie Kolar, and just for the sake of being safe and not like overdoing it with all of our wish list, you bring back Nate Atkins, who when he's healthy, I think is a really good blocker. Then you're like, all right, you got two foundational pieces and you can be a little bit more creative with how you utilize Evan Ingram or anybody else that we would have. Daniel Bellinger is another perfect example. He's probably my 1B because you've seen some of that receiving upside, but he's also a really good blocker, kind of more of a hybrid, someone I think Sean Payton would really like. So only concern is that I don't think the Ravens are going to let Charlie Kolar walk, especially if they let Isaiah Likely go, because those types of tight ends, man, teams love to keep them. They love to have them on the team.
Yeah.
They're rarely ever available. But again, people are going to look at me and be like, this guy's got 30 catches in his entire career and 400 yards. You know, his best season was last year and he had 10 catches. So
there's some guys that can have that impact for what you're saying in that role in this draft. I feel like the guy from Indiana could be that role. Riley Nowakowski, solid guy. He could fit like that Atkins role type of thing, right? Maybe an upbeat in terms of a pass catcher. Another guy that I think is a little under the radar in terms of his catchability. I mean, he's not going to take a top off a defense or be like a legitimate threat, to keep defenses up at night, but he can hold his own very well against defensive ends. Daquan Wright out of Ole Miss, dude, is a guy that I really like.
Love Daquan.
That could be something in this offense. If you feel like you don't want to spend that kind of money, but you want to still upgrade in that some fashion, you go to the draft for that. Maybe that's something that Denver would be intrigued by, right? Like, I don't know. But the later
100%. 100%. I mean, I love those names. And again, like a lot of the times we emphasize the blocking ability, and I know it gets frustrating. Like a lot of NFL fans would be like, well, who gives a crap about his blocking? Like Kyle Pitts go out there and eat. And like, I agree with you 100%. But at the end of the day, that's how this offense is run. Whether we like it or not, maybe,
bro.
Yeah. Was that?
That's how we would execute. And that's a lot of the times in terms of why the offense would failed on execution was we weren't able to hold our blocks a lot of the time. Troutman was getting his butt kicked on some of the edges or whatever,
Exactly right. And I think it's like one of those where it doesn't really matter like what we think. It's just a matter of like what the facts are. And we know enough about how Sean Payton wants to run it that he needs the blocking tight end. So until you got that foundation going, nothing's going to get rolling. Again, it could change under Davis Webb. That might be a big thing where he's like, you know what? Screw that. Let's just go out there and simplify things and have guys beat their match. Sorry,
I do want to ask you a question when it comes to like tight ends who are like freak athletes. Michael Trigg is a guy. Where do you feel like he would improve in terms of blocking? Can he just be serviceable in the NFL? And you bet on his traits, right? To be a receiving, just a monster in terms of an athlete that he is. Because he provides like that yak ability. He could break tackles. And we know for a fact that we don't have a lot of guys in this offense. How would you feel about us drafting a guy like that if you brought in like other blockers in that room?
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be intriguing. It'd make a lot of sense. I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Trigg, and it's because some of the off the field stuff that you heard about. And then when I was watching him, you would see some of that effort also. Like, so it's not so much the off the field because I'm not gonna judge. I don't know anything about the character or his situations, but it's like, how much do you love football? And I feel like, man, when you're blocking, like you've got to really love playing football. If you're if you take pride in blocking, because that's just, it sounds miserable. You're just going to sit there and block it. Like being an O lineman, I couldn't even imagine. So, maybe like, again, he's someone, same with Eli Stowers, right? That's just like a crazy good mismatch nightmare. You saw how the kind of impact that Oronde Gadsden had for the Chargers last year. He's someone that I loved. I didn't think he's going to be a fit for us, but they deployed him in a way of like, we don't really need you to block, dude. Like you're going to go out there and be a mismatch nightmare because they had the ability to have other guys that could do that. So again, like to your point, if we were able to get those blocking guys, Michael Trigg can kind of develop at his own pace, but we use him early to his strengths. I think that's he'd be a really interesting type of signing.
Yeah, for
And so
sure.
would a lot of other guys in this draft too that maybe aren't the best pass blockers, and it would make everybody, it would just kind of elevate the whole room. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like building that foundation. Would you say that well, I guess before we move on from that, is there anybody else in the draft from a tight end standpoint that obviously we know about Kenyon Sadiq? We could talk about him if you want a little bit, but anyone else, like any other names?
Dude, I
That you
really
like?
like Max. I like Max Clear a lot, dude.
Mhm.
I've just like I just feel like he has like that Dallas Goddard kind of aura about him, the way he plays the
Mhm.
game. I think he's like underrated as an athlete, man, and I feel like he brings a lot of the skill set that maybe Sean Payton looks for in a tight end, right? So I feel like he's a guy to become that long term um type of tight end for us. I know Oscar Delp is undersized, but he kind of reminds me of Hunter Henry a little bit as a comparison in the NFL, like when Hunter Henry came into the league. Maybe
Yep.
if he refines his route running a little bit. But that's kind of some of the guys that I like too that I've found.
Yeah. I'm happy that you brought up Max Clare, because what I liked about him is we saw the kind of ability that he has as a pass catcher when he was at
Mhm.
Purdue before he went to Ohio State.
Yeah,
He was beast in there. I mean, you could see like, man, this dude was a field stretching tight end. And then he transfers to OSU, which I think you got to give him a lot of credit for, right? He could have just kept dominating at
wide
Purdue.
receiver
Goes to
you.
Ohio State, and it seems like they really asked him to block a lot more than actually be a receiver. And I felt like he actually did a really good job of that as well. Like, again, you see the effort. Like, it's not always going to be pretty. He's not always going to
Right.
be taking on like linemen or whatever. But if you're taking pride in it, that's the most important thing. And I'll tell you what, man, Ohio State, I'm assuming they do the same with their tight ends, but they are unbelievable when it comes to developing wide receivers as blockers. Like, you can talk about all the great receivers that come out of Ohio State. They're all phenomenal blockers in college. And I'm sure the same thing at Ohio State. So I like the fact that like he made that transition and showed that he could be a blocker too. We know that he could be really good as a pass catcher. I think the combine might show just how athletic he can be. He could really be one of the biggest risers coming out of the combine too, man. He's someone that on day 2, I think, would make a whole lot of sense for the Broncos. And again, I agree. I think he's someone that Sean Payton would love.
And check this out, bro. He has a 66.7% contested catch rate, a drop rate of only 4.4%, bro. So you're getting some solid hands, like you
Oh
alluded
yeah.
to.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to love that. I don't know. Has anything about his measurables come out at all? Like the arm
Not that
length
I've
or the
noticed.
size? I mean, I'm sure it's decent. I was mortified when I heard about Sam Roush's 31-inch arms. I couldn't believe that.
Is that going to be an issue blocking on the next level? I would imagine, right?
It
Not
could be. I
being
mean, I
able to
don't know.
extend, hold your anchor type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it could be. I don't know if it's as big a deal for tight ends. I mean, if he's only a blocking tight end, then yes. But maybe he
I'm
can
just
get
not
away with
quite
it.
there on Sam Roush. I'm just not
Yeah,
quite there. I'll have to watch
I
more of
know.
him. It's
I
hard.
get it. I get it. It's
Yeah.
a tough watch, man. Stanford as a whole was a tough watch. But again, I don't view Sam Roush as being a potential game-changing tight end.
No.
I just look at him as like, I think he's got a really high floor. I think he's going to be
Okay.
just a solid NFL tight end. He could surprise some people with some of the pass catching ability, but I like how his game translates. But I mean, we'll see, dude. It's such a hard position to monitor. So let's get back into get back into free agency. Maybe talk a little bit about, unless there's anybody else specifically in tight ends that you wanted to
No,
discuss.
we've nailed some pretty solid ones that I think the Broncos will be I'll have on the radar, right?
Cool.
For the
Yep.
most part.
No. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I guess getting into let's talk about maybe the wide receiver room. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room overall? Do you find it as like a top 3 need for this team?
I think so, man. I feel like you can't just be like Sean Payton and be like, we like the room type of thing, right? You need to add some kind of level of competition, whether that be a draft prospect or maybe you trade for somebody. I'm not really intrigued by this wide receiver free agency market, to be honest. I'm going to pass on it if I'm being honest with you.
Really? Okay.
I just feel like you can maybe improve that way with, like I said, trade, free agency, not free agency, the draft. And there's some guys in the first round that I really like. Chris Bell, dude, is a guy, man, that I feel like can bring a level of physicality. I know a lot of folks like AJ Brown, right? Not per se like that same player, right? One for one comparison, but he's like that archetype type of player, right? That can probably develop into somebody of that caliber.
Yep.
Why not, dude? I don't give a damn about the injury history, right? I feel like the draft is an investment that you make in players, and why not have that fifth round option too on him to invest in a guy like that? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like this room has to be upgraded in some fashion because we're top 3 in drops. Like you got to hold these guys accountable.
I know. No, it's crazy. I'm really hoping that Ronald Curry, the new wide receiver coach, maybe can fix some of that and get some more development out of these guys. So when you're looking at this room now, I mean, obviously the main core group, you got Sutton at the top, you got Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. What do you feel like? Is there a specific archetype of receiver that you feel like we should add? Do you think that is it a slot guy? Is it just a guy that can upgrade over Sutton? I mean, how would you elevate this room?
I would really like to see somebody that we can bring in with some versatility and, that could line up at the Z, maybe the X or, in the slot. And Omar Cooper Jr. is another guy that could be just that in this draft, I feel like, right? He's rising up boards. I have him as wide receiver 5. And this guy is versatile, right? He has great route separation. You can motion him, type of guy. And I feel like he's not a lock to be available there at 30. I think the Steelers might look at his direction because I think he would pair well with DK Metcalf over there. I know this isn't the Steelers podcast, but I'm just saying, like, no. I looked around the league when it comes to draft, and I'm like, well, what guys could these other teams be looking at?
For sure.
I see Omar Cooper Jr. being a fit there, but of somebody of that caliber, like we were looking at Emeka Egbuka last season, right? For some of us, he would have been a good fit, right? So
yeah,
why not pass up? We shouldn't really pass up on him either if we feel like he can elevate the room, and I feel like he could as well.
Yep. No, I'm right there with you, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we attack it. I didn't really get the vibe that it was a big concern or a big emphasis of need for Sean and George. They didn't really mention it too much, which is usually a good sign if you want one, because they typically go after, like they're usually very mum on like on who they want to get. But my ideal wide receiver addition, probably the only guy that I would truly like feel could elevate this room, and being realistic, right? Like trading for Jalen Waddle would be cool. It might not happen anymore like I thought maybe it could before. Not really that big on bringing in AJ Brown unless he replaced Sutton just 1-for-1, just because it's like, okay, let's just convolute a very confusing room more by bringing in another guy. I love Wan'Dale Robinson though. He's someone that I feel like
about him, slot type of guy, right?
Yeah. I'm really high on Wan'Dale because he brings something similar to why I wanted to make Egbuka in a way. They're different players, but it's positional. They're fairly similar in the sense of we don't have a guy on our team that just flat out can get open. Short, intermediate routes across the middle of the field consistently. He's a slot receiver, and that's just what he does. He's extremely reliable, not just from a health standpoint, but from catching the football. But you're talking about a kid that, he's 5'8", 180. So he's not a big guy, but he's a burner. He ran a 4.3, 840. You've seen that, but I just love what he can bring. I foresee him being a kind of a safety blanket for Bo, right? Someone that's going to be reliable on third downs, in the clutch situations, across the middle in any of those situations. And I like him because now it allows for the other guys to perfect their roles, right? Like we know what Sutton's going to do. We're kind of capped out with Sutton, but he's going to be your outside X. You can have Pat Bryant focus on being the other X on the other side if you need him to play in that zero, like you talked about, where he's blocking or he's lined up in the slot opposite of Wan'Dale. You got Franklin, who can also be an outside guy. So I think you have a lot more clarity, at least in that wide receiver room, by bringing in someone like Wan'Dale. So he's probably going to cost a bit though. I don't really know if the Broncos will go after him, but man, I love the idea of like Wan'Dale Robinson and Cortland Sutton, very different players. They complement each other well, right? Think DT and Emmanuel, think AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I mentioned this the other day, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, like that room that really complements each other, that gives defenses some fits, and he can do that. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, and he's been good. Like he's been good with really shitty quarterback situations in New York. He's been really good when the main wide receiver, like when Malik Neighbors got hurt, he still balled out, right? And when he's playing with Malik Neighbors, he's still balling out. So he kind of seems like he's, he's just good. Like he performs regardless of the situation. So I like that. But how about guys like, maybe some lower tier guys like Juwan Jennings, for example, or anybody else that may be like, oh, that would be interesting at least to see.
I would say maybe Romeo Doubs would be a guy to kind of keep an eye on, I guess. I just feel 100%. Like the thing I'm kind of like lukewarm about this wide receiver free agents is like, I just feel like we're gonna want a premium for what you're gonna get, right? And I know that's sometimes how free agency works. You pay a little more than what they're worth, what you're gonna get. But a guy like Romeo Doubs, I feel like would be pretty solid in this wide receiver room. He's pretty solid option. He's been productive for the Green Bay Packers. They just have a lot of young talent. They just drafted Matthew Golden, who was a guy that I like, but he has strong hands. He's reliable. He could be a red zone target, right? He's pretty good with contested catches too. Somebody that you could probably rely on third down as well. So
yeah,
somebody I would be interested in if the price was right, I guess.
For sure. No, I like Romeo Doubs a lot too, man. I think he's a good one. I mean, similar in a way to Wan'Dale, different body type. He's not necessarily a slot guy, but he can. And he just seems like he's the guy that they went to when they needed a first down, when they needed a touchdown. He got a lot of touchdowns. But I think it was like 80% or 85% of his catches resulted in a first down or a touchdown. So he'd be a really interesting guy too. How you feel about Alec Pierce? I kind of started like really high on Alec Pierce early in the journey, and I've kind of tailed off on him a little bit. But
a lot of it's heartbreak, right? Because you're hearing that some of these guys are getting franchise tagged. You and I were talking on the timeline. You gave me the measurables. I'm like, he kind of reminds me of like Eric Decker 2.0. Not of course the 1-for-1 comparison, but his measurables, right?
Yeah.
He's just a little more less. He's more lanky than I think Eric Decker was. I think Decker's a little more solid as a guy. But that's kind of what I would have been.
Faster, definitely a faster receiver. But I can definitely see the comp too.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I would say if Alec Pierce happened to be available, which I don't think he'll hit the market, but he would be a guy that I would like, that would pair up rather nicely actually with Cortland Sutton, right?
Yep. Yeah, Kodiak saying Raritan and Cuevas. Eli Raritan's he's my sweetheart guy in the draft. I obviously the medicals are going to be huge with him, but you talk about a freak. You talk about a freak of nature. Eli Raritan is a freak of nature, and that's.
I'll have to watch him. I haven't really keyed up on him a lot.
He's like 6'6" plus, 250, and can absolutely fly. And he likes to block, but he had back-to-back ACL injuries on the same knee. That was that was like in 22 and 23. So he played 2 full seasons healthy, which is a good sign usually.
Okay.
He'd be like probably a mid-round guy. Josh Cuevas, I haven't gotten into seeing much yet either. So probably we'll get there. But yeah, the wide receiver room, man, is kind of confusing. I'm probably more keen on getting like upper tier talent in free agency rather than in the draft. I just don't know if the top tier guys are going to be available at 30 or if we should invest that heavily in it for something that's going to be more of a future pick. Yeah, like Mekhi Lemon is awesome. I mean, he's phenomenal.
That's a dream scenario.
Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson. I think they're definitely the clear top 3 after kind of watching them. And Denzel Boston would be good too. But again, for me, it's like, man, I look at it differently because I'm very high on Pat Bryant. I genuinely still do believe that he's the future wide receiver one. But until we get a little bit of clarity, it's like, I don't want to find ourselves being like the Green Bay Packers, right? Where we have a lot of solid receivers, but who's the receiver on Green Bay? It's been a problem they've been having for a long time.
You need that alpha for sure.
Yeah. You do.
A guy real quick that I'll throw to you, that's in this draft that I really like, that I kind of reminds me a little bit of Amon-Ra St. Brown, is Antonio Williams out of Clemson.
You did mention him. Yep.
And also I would say, like, I know Todd McShay, I guess, had this guy as wide receiver one. I think going into the college season, maybe that's changed since. I haven't really watched much of Todd McShay, but he's a guy to keep an eye on that. Despite his size, I don't really worry too much about his size because I think he could be an impact player day one in this offense. The way he route catches the ball, route running, I feel like he'd be a Sean Payton type of guy in terms of what he can.
He definitely, he definitely projects for sure as a Sean Payton type of dude. I got to get into him more. I'm going to start my Chris Brazzell look into again tonight because
6'5", right?
About Chris Brazzell, yeah. Yeah, so, I'll try not to helmet scout again.
Yeah.
I always have. I never like to draft like the 6'5" receivers that are 190 pounds. I just feel like it's a very awkward body type. But listen, I mean, things can change. It was kind of my one knock on Troy Franklin. I was like, he's tall, but he's really skinny. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be the case, right? So,
right.
But I mean, he can definitely be an explosive player. And I would say if I had to pick in this draft of like someone that I feel like Sean Payton probably likes a lot, like a whole lot, is Jeremy Bernard. Right? Like,
I don't know if you watched me. I on the Dax fan zone and end zone. I mocked. It's probably crazy to reach that I mocked Jeremy Bernard in the first round, but it's more based on because I felt like he was a Sean Payton kind of guy.
Yeah, totally.
Despite consensus, Sean Payton doesn't give a damn of consensus, right? Because he took Pat Bryant in the third when everyone had a fifth round grade. Same could be said for Jeremy Bernard in the first and shock people, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I completely agree. Like, totally a Sean Payton dude, blocks his butt off. And what I see with Bernard is like I see someone as like a jack of all trades, which again, depending on the kind of receiver that you're looking for, might fit exactly. If you're looking for a wide receiver one, alpha type of guy, I don't think Jeremy Bernard's your guy. But if you're just looking for someone that you know is going to be solid, regardless of the position you put him in, that's Jeremy Bernard. Like good route runner, can play in the slot, can play outside, blocks his butt off, reliable as hell of hands, decent route runner. He's not really that explosive. He's not going to
what you're getting out
give
of
you a
him
whole bunch of juice. Was that?
You know what you're going to get out of Jeremy Bernard when you draft him for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of seems to project a little bit like a Sean Payton guy, right? No doubt. So,
yeah.
So we will see. So, all right. So I guess let's talk about everything we talked about. We'll kind of wrap it all into one, like a perfect Broncos offseason. And you don't even have to say like this player or that player, but maybe like we sign X amount of this position, we draft at this position. What does your ultimate Broncos blueprint look like?
Ooh, I'm in the hot seat. This is going to be a tough one, but I would say we definitely need to add 2 running backs, whether that's one in free agency, one in the draft, to have somebody developing through the pipeline, somebody that's dynamic, 2 linebackers, whether that be via free agency or in the draft. I think I would like to really see 1 in free agency for sure, 2 in the draft. You double dip because it's a deep linebacker class. You've seen all the interviews, press conferences that these linebackers had. There's so much good talent that you can find yourself drafting, right? 2 of them. What else? I would like to add a wide receiver in this draft, whether it's early or maybe somebody you develop. Like I said, we need to add somebody to this room in some fashion. I would like to see this offensive line get better.
There you go, Dak. Now you're talking.
If you want to improve the run game, and if you feel like the Broncos are going to improve in the trenches, you go get you a guy in the first round, maybe like a Emmanuel Pregnon in the first round, or that's a run game mauler, athletic. I would even look at Gennings Dunker, who's versatile,
that's
right?
That's my guy.
Let's go.
Stole it right out of my mouth, brother. Is it Gennings?
He's the guy that I would like to have. If somebody of that, like, I just feel like you constantly need to add to the trenches, right? And then maybe you need to add some depth at the defensive lineman, maybe someone to help fill the void. I know we drafted Savion Jones, but I'm not banking on that to be, to help fill that void of John Franklin Myers. We know what he is. But guys like Kristen, the guy from Georgia, Kristen Miller. the defensive lineman,
Yep.
or Lee Hunter, who is a
Mhm.
mammoth of a defensive lineman. I think he had a pass rush win rate of like 10.8% or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Yeah.
presence, and he's a big dude in the interior defensive
Mhm.
line that you need. We struggle against the Bills, right? That was like our kryptonite. We got our butts kicked in the trenches. You got a guy like that for size, like I think we're sitting pretty. And then I would like to see us add some safety depth for sure. Aside from other than PJ Locke, I think with Brandon Jones getting injured, that kind of raised some eyebrows, I would say. So add some depth on the back end for sure.
Yep. I love it, man. I'm so happy you brought up Jennings Dunker because he's so. I think
He's nice, dude. He's a
I'm
guy.
not there. I'm not there. I'm not confident about it yet because you got to see how free agency goes. But I
Okay.
think he's going to be like my number one, my first round pick want for the Broncos.
Oh
Because
yeah, he's gonna rise too, man.
yeah,
He's gonna
he
rise.
is.
I think
He
he's
is.
what, day 2 kind of guy, maybe second round, but he could rise potentially back into the first, maybe sooner if
No
somebody
doubt.
likes him.
And I'll tell you why. Because when you look at this tackle class, all right, and a lot of people say Jennings Dunker is going to be better off as a guard in the NFL, and I get that, but I don't see any reason why. Like, I think he could be an elite guard, but I think he could be a damn good tackle. He's got all the measurables still. Like usually if a guy has a little shorter arms, they'll be like, he's going to project more of a guard. He doesn't. Like he's a lengthy dude, played on a nasty offensive line unit, but he's like the perfect fit from what I know about him so far for exactly what the Broncos need. Because if you took him at 30, he is a plug and play. This year in 2026, he's your starting left guard and helps you out in the run game. It's an upgrade, I think, from Ben Powers, especially when you talk about like the price difference. He would lock down that left guard spot. And then once your tackles age out, because eventually it's going to happen, if you need to replace McGlinchey the following year or Bowles, whoever, can easily slot in at a tackle as well. So that versatility is huge, man. And he's got it. Very experienced player. Like I think he had like 38, 40 starts in college on arguably the best offensive line at Iowa. So I think Jennings Dunker would be awesome. And we cannot forget about drafting and developing on the O-line, the D-line. That's the bread and butter of this team. It's what's gotten us here. I think we need to do that. So I love that.
How do you feel about I know he's out of Arizona State. I can't really pronounce his last name. Max, though.
Iheanacho?
There you go. He's a guy, dude, that can be somebody that potentially takes over right tackle for us.
Mm-hmm. He's interesting because he's only been playing football, I think, for 2 years, which is crazy.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. I just want an identity to just bring a level of physicality in the run game, right? And just
and he can do that. And like, and that's what's cool about Iheanacho is that like, I mean, he's as good as he was, and he's barely even played. Like he's super raw still. Mm-hmm. My only hesitation, I guess, if you want to call it a hesitation, is I don't think he would contribute for the team at all his first year. It would be kind of like an investment down the line. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm fine with, but sometimes that gets a little annoying. Like you want your first round pick to play, but hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't always happen.
Because you see rookies across the league being impactful, and you're like, "What about our guys? I want our guys to have some kind of like impact," and it's not happening. I get it, man. It's a little
exactly. But he would be really good, man. He's from what I'm hearing, he's a big riser as well in terms of. Because he's got all the measurables, so I think that there's a lot of really good guards though, like Emmanuel Pregnon, like you talked about,
Rutledge, Bo Stevens.
I love Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech.
Yes,
I looked into him even more. This guy's story is crazy. Like when I heard this, I was like, I want to draft that dude. So he was playing, I think, at Middle Tennessee State, and then he transferred to Georgia State. And in the offseason, when he made the transfer, he got into a really serious car accident and like really messed up his leg. Like he shattered his foot. And it was really putting his, first season at Georgia Tech. A lot of people didn't think he was going to play. He ends up like rehabbing his ass off and ends up, making it for the season, plays. In I think it was his first game. He played 96 snaps because it was like a 6 overtime game. And this dude was just like almost crying in pain and just mauling dudes still. And I'm like, damn. Like,
that's hard, bro. That's a worry.
that's what the hell I want on my team. That dude.
Yeah.
Like,
You go to war
he's
with
not
a
really
guy
that
like
good
that.
in pass pro. I get it. He can learn that. But in the run game, good Lord. I mean, this dude. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, we're talking trenches, and there's a guy, I mean, A&M seems like they have some pretty solid talent on the offensive line, but maybe a later round kind of guy. I don't know what his projection is right off the top of my head, but Trey Zune the third out of A&M. How would you feel as maybe drafting him day 3? I don't know if he's a day 2 guy. I got to look at where he's projected, but I don't know if you've looked into him, how you feel, but he was pretty solid in pass blocking.
Is he a tackle?
He's a tackle, 6'6", 319. It says that he's pretty solid in pass protection for sure. Not really like your Mauler type of guy, but he could be something like a developmental swing tackle. Maybe he's something that we look at. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to watch more of him, but he's somebody that came up on my feed and I've been kind of looking at. Got to watch more.
No, I love it. I love it. I do. I think we absolutely should like draft a tackle or offensive line prospect high, and then get a developmental guy in the later rounds.
Yeah,
you know, and we've done a really good job of finding those developmental UDFAs. But if we can get someone that's maybe a little bit more,
Frank Crumb's a perfect example, right? Like,
oh, and Palczewski too, right, man?
Yeah, exactly.
About Palcho, my God, that guy.
No, Jesus,
you know,
all pro vote.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people are like, well, Palcho will be the starting left guard. He should just get put in at starting guard. And like, I'd be fine with it because I think he'd be really good there. Like, he showed that he was pretty solid. But I love having him as a rotational guy, as a depth piece, because he's so invaluable at that. Like, he can be your backup left tackle, backup right tackle, backup left guard, and your backup right guard. Like, we saw him start at right tackle, he looked great. We saw him start at left tackle, he looked great. So that guy, even though he could probably be a starter, I feel like is a lot more valuable as just like, hey, wherever we have a hole, you're gonna fill it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I love that. But yeah, those you know, I don't want to forget about the trenches, man. It's not always the sexiest pick, but if we have a really good free agency season and we fill the needs and we really upgrade the talent, man, give me the big fat guys up front. I like.
Oh yeah, dude. I like a guy that could get physical and that's big.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So yeah, no, I'm excited.
And same with D-line, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Blake Miller, how do you feel about him, dude? Real quick, Blake Miller out of Clemson. I think he's a guy that could rise.
I haven't really looked into him yet, but I've heard he's rising a lot, a lot. And I think if I remember something along the lines, I don't know if he was injured a little bit this year, but he was a lot of people's number one tackle going into the season. So I don't know what happened in 2025, if anything, that caused him to drop a little bit. But I remember a lot of people were really high on him. But you know, he seems like he's got all the tools as well. And I mean, listen, I'm so confident, like, in the offensive line staff that we have, like Zach Streif and those guys. They've done such a good job, like masterful job. Like, if you look at it, every single player on our O-line has just gotten better every year.
That's true.
With them. Like, Garrett Bowles has always been a solid tackle for several years now, all pro now. Mike McGlinchey, it wasn't always pretty with Mike, especially his first year here. But the last 2 years, he's been a revelation, like such a good at right tackle. Quinn Miners, obviously, we know what he can do. You saw the kind of steps that Luke Wattenberg took, and even Ben Powers that he took. It's like every single offensive lineman's gotten better under his tutelage. So if he's having a big say in who we draft on the O-line, regardless of where, I trust it. That's kind of where I'm at.
For sure. I agree with that. I'm in sync with you on that.
I think he's crushed that. So anybody that, whether in free agency or in the draft, that you feel like it might not even be a position of need, it might not be a position that anyone's even thinking the Broncos are going to address, that you feel like, man, this could happen and I wouldn't be surprised.
Oof, man. Geez, that's a tough question. I haven't really thought about it, but maybe the safety position. maybe the Broncos invest a higher pick. You look at who did they bring in at Belk out of USC,
Mhm.
and I was kind of looking at some of those safeties that they have. Kamari
Yeah.
Ramsey, could they
Mhm.
second round talent maybe potentially? Could they
Totally.
draft him and surprise us? Right. Another guy out of USC, Bishop Fitzgerald. I think I saw someone put on there that he's probably the better safety on the timeline out of the two, but I would have to watch more of Bishop Fitzgerald. But keep an eye on some of those USC guys, right? You know how
Totally.
relationships matter when it comes to drafting and having that intel, right? Like that's something that
100%.
I wouldn't be shocked by if it happens for sure.
No, me neither, man. No, 100%. It's funny. That's the first thing that I did too when I heard that we had Doug Belk as the
Yeah,
coach. I looked
yeah,
back. I was like, who are the SC guys in this draft?
exactly.
And I even like maybe a little bit of Houston because I know he was at Houston before. And there's even some like D linemen that some people are talking about that, or some linebackers too that maybe we could look at there as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny, man. That's exactly what
that's funny.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I did
I
as well.
was
And
just connecting the dots for sure.
anything else? Anybody else that you wanted to cover? Any other thoughts that were on your mind that you wanted to maybe address?
Oh, oof, man. I'm gonna ask you a question. Shoot your shot. Round one. The Denver Broncos are on the clock. Who's the selection?
It's
I know
it's
it's
just,
tough.
well, it's
And
so hard
early.
because I
I
don't know
know.
how free agency went, right?
Right, right.
Um, and so based on how I feel like free agency is going to go, like here's
Okay.
kind of what I think is going to happen. I think the Broncos are going to address the running back position, whether it's signing one of the guys, trading for David Montgomery, who's someone I feel like Sean Payton probably loves too. Algier, any of those guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I would love. Like I love Tyler Algier, love Travis Etienne. So I think they're going to address the the running back position with one of the free agents. I do also think they're going to sign J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
Both
So
of
the
them.
running back room will be solidified for the most part.
Yeah,
Not
I
really a
think they're
need.
going to probably sign a tight end or two, like a
Okay.
blocking tight end and maybe like a higher. Like if I had to take a guess now, I really do think they would probably make a push for Charlie Kolar, but like maybe someone like Dallas Goedert and Daniel Bellinger, right?
I'd be happy with
As
that.
as an option. So I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think they will address inside linebacker, but it's probably going to be with like not a Devin Lloyd, maybe not even a Devin Bush. Like Leo Chanel would make sense.
Oh, he's like
Um,
an upgrade over Justin Sternad, right? Like I feel
yeah.
like because he's that special teams ace kind of guy though, but he's still pretty young.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
would see it. Intrigued by
I
him.
think Sternad probably has a good chance to come back. I think what's going to happen is like he wants to test the market. He
Let
might
him.
realize the market's not
The
as
grass isn't always greener.
what's that?
Maybe the grass isn't always greener for him too, and he's like, I
Yeah,
like Denver. I like my option here
exactly.
in Denver. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, you never know. So he could be somebody that we end up getting back. It's kind of like I mean, I know DJ Jones, we signed him early, but I think a lot of people thought
Mhm.
initially, and then I think he realized that maybe the market's not going to be as hot. So he could be
Right.
someone that maybe we would bring back, but I think we'll address it. So I think we'll go into the and I think we'll probably sign like a lower level veteran, maybe guard, maybe a defensive lineman. But I think what I feel very confidently with is that we're going to go into the draft without any obvious needs like we feel like we have now.
Flexibility.
Yeah. And if that's the case, Jennings Dunker is my pick at 30.
Okay. I
I
like
love it.
it though. Hey, I
I
like
love it.
it.
I think
Kudos
right
to you,
now,
man. I like it.
that's where I'm leaning because for me, it's like it's so easy to be like, man, I would love the sexy pick like that really fun tight end or, a dynamic receiver or even,
Sadiq
there's
is
so many.
sexy, bro, to trade up for.
What's that?
Sadiq is sexy to trade
Sadiq
up
is real
for. I'm
sexy,
just
right?
saying.
Yeah. And that would be awesome too. But it's like, man, I keep going back to whenever I was scouting every single game, when I would do my Friday breakdowns, it was always like, I felt really confident the Broncos were going to be able to win because we were better on the O-line than the opponent and we were better on the D-line than the opponent. I just don't want that to ever change. And it can change real quick, man. An injury or two. Like we were so lucky that the injuries that we had on the O-line was to the guard position and not tackles. Because
Yeah.
maybe, you feel fine about Palcho playing right tackle because you've seen it, but I don't think he's the backup left guard. How would we have fared if Bowles went down and Frank Crum was the starting left tackle, right? Maybe
Oh
he's really
my
good, but like that's
God.
scary.
It is
And
a
so I'm
scary
like,
thought.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, I like the idea of you know, investing there, developing there with this incredible development staff that we have. And I think Jennings Dunker can do a perfect job of having immediate impact, but also develop for the future too. If he's an all pro at guard, great. If he can be a starting upper echelon tackle at one point, even better. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. How about you?
Man, I've said that we need to add to this wide receiver room, and I think maybe we do it in the first round. I like the trenches, but I know there's some guys, maybe Sean Payton will be like, hey, we could develop these guys. So I want to say, and I'm just so intrigued by the thought of it, just because we're investing for the future to be our potential wide receiver one. And I would love to have Chris Bell in the Broncos uniform, dude. I like Omar Cooper Jr., but I just feel like Chris Bell is wide receiver one. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. Like that he could be project to be that in Denver,
Yeah,
bro. He's
I
just
see
that.
the potential. I see
Yeah,
it. You know what, man? It's
I'm so
interesting.
intrigued by it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I think if a guy like Malachi Fields has a really good combine, right? And maybe some other
Yeah.
receivers have really good
Okay.
combines, that could be a good way. That could probably push Chris Bell back a little bit. And I think that there's an opportunity that we could maybe get him in the second round. So
Yes.
imagine Jennings Dunker at 30, and then in the second round, the Broncos were to draft Chris Bell. I
I would
think they
not be
knock it out
mad
of the
at
park
that.
with those two.
I would not be mad at
Not
all
at
with
all.
that. Get your linebacker in the third, maybe Bryce
Yeah.
Betcher.
Yeah, maybe some. Yeah, I'm good with that. Betcha, Torian
Boom.
York.
Yeah, there's so many guys, dude. No,
There is.
I'm excited. I'm
Did you
excited.
did you
Next
see the
week.
news on is it Tremont Edmonds or is it Tracy's
Yeah,
brother Tremont Edmonds
from the Bears.
potentially being traded from the
How do
Bears?
you
What
feel
are
about
your
that?
thoughts there? Would you do it?
So here's where I'm at when it comes to trading for linebackers. I feel like there's enough on the free agent market that you don't need to invest in trade assets, to get somebody when there's similar talent maybe in the market, or you look at the draft, right? I don't really want to invest on that part of the ball when it comes to trades. Maybe if it was like a wide receiver or somebody, I look at trades, right? But I think for the defense, there's plenty of talent. I'm passing on that, to be honest. For me,
Yeah, I get
how do
it.
you feel?
No, I get it. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll tell you something that blew my mind that I didn't know. I didn't know Tremaine Edmonds was drafted. He was 19 years old.
Well, I
Fun
didn't know
fact.
that either. Holy
Yeah.
smokes, bro.
Second youngest
Dang.
to ever be drafted at
Oh, he's a
19,
man.
19 years, 11 months. And he was a
Jesus.
freaking team captain in his second year at 20 years old. It's
Wow.
crazy.
That's crazy
But
work.
Tremaine Edmonds is definitely one of the best off-ball linebackers in the NFL. I mean, he's an absolute stud. I wouldn't say he's Devin Lloyd's level,
Okay.
but and his cap hit for 26 is 17.4 million. You could move on
Yeah.
from him and save all of it. Like he's got barely any guaranteed. You could redo it, give him a little extension, lower the cap hit quite a bit if you wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about a day 3 pick, I am all in. I
Okay.
think because it's like, for me, it's like, all right, you give a 6th rounder up, for him,
Okay.
and you get him. I think you're going to be able to get him for cheaper than maybe even Devin Bush, definitely Devin Lloyd. And so I'd be super intrigued by that. But
Okay. I put him
again,
above Devin Bush too, I guess. So maybe
yeah.
you pull
But
my
again,
arm on
like
that one.
I'm lukewarm
Oh,
on it
it's so
because
tough.
how much are you going to
Yeah.
spend on defense? Like you've got to start drafting and developing on the D side and investing
Mm-hmm.
your dollars elsewhere. Our offensive line is very heavily paid, as they should be, but we have to
Mm-hmm.
start, finding cheaper and better talent there. And I think the same thing kind of goes for defense too. So,
For sure. I
yeah,
agree.
I'm kind of up and down there.
No, man, this
Hey,
was pretty fun. This was a great discussion.
yeah,
Got my
man.
wheels turning for certain
No, it
things.
was, bro. I'm happy we got a chance to do it. We'll definitely plan on doing it a lot more in the near future, man. Before we
Oh yeah.
wrap it up, let everybody know, guys, make sure you subscribe, go follow Dak on all of his socials, but tell everyone where they can find you at.
You can find me at Denver DMark on Twitter. You can find me on TikTok at Fanatic Dak. You can follow the Broncos Bros and Buck and Pod on TikTok. We're there. YouTube, just at Buck and Pod. at Broncos Bros. Yeah, find me there on basically all the socials except for Instagram and Facebook, I guess. Yeah, haven't done those pages yet, but yeah, give me a follow. I'm very outgoing. What you see on the show is what you get in person, all the way across the
Love it.
board.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I can attest to that, man. He's an awesome follow on Twitter. He's fun. He's always respectful, but he loves the debate, which I can appreciate, because there's so many.
Yeah.
You know, we live in this world now where it's like people will disagree even about sports, right? And that's perfectly fine. But it's like there's no just regular disagreement to where, hey, let's talk it out and then cool, we'll follow. There's not a whole lot of that, but Dak is one of the best, man. One of the nice guys out there. And it's Denver D Mark MARQ, right?
Yes.
All right, dude. We would have like the perfect show. It'd be like Denver D Marquee Sports. You know, it just like flows.
Dude, that's funny. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
so funny.
I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, that's crazy. It's Denver D Mark.
Yeah,
Mark's my name. I'm going off Marquee Sports. Yeah, we could have a little bit of a Denver D Marquee.
I'm over here like, oh,
Denver D Marquee, right? I love it. But yeah, be sure to go follow him on all the socials, man. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. I'm upset that the YouTube seemed to be having some comments, but we've had steadily over 100 people in the watching over the course of the hour. Pretty steady. So appreciate y'all, man, and
appreciate you. I'm honored to be on with you. Catch you on the flip. Have a good afternoon, bro. Happy hump day.
Later.
Bye.
You too.